as calculated from ice cores, from pollen counts, from tree rings, and various things, and also from dust from volcanoes. Every time a volcano blew up in the last couple hundred years, the world cools off just a little. And the reason the world cools off is this dust gets in the atmosphere, especially in the tropics, and reflects sunlight back into space. But sure enough, when the dust settles, the world gets warmer again. And you will note well, the world is getting warmer all the time. Even though it cools off now and then, the trend is up. And Mount St. Helens is coming up, but I'll tell you, Mount St. Helens, since it's not tropical, it had hardly, 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, it didn't have much effect. But because I go there every year, I just slip it. And so, just notice that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change shows the color to be, as the world gets warmer, browner and browner, more and more like a desert. And then these lines, I hope you're somewhat familiar with something similar. These are plotting into the future what will happen if humans do this, or that, or this and that, or the other thing. Depending what steps we take in the next few years, the world will continue to get warmer and be unlivable for billions of people, or the world will not get quite so warm and be just a little unlivable for a lot of people. And this is serious biz. This is what it's all about. And I include this graph because this is one of the most compelling animations that came out of the work that won the Nobel Prize. So I was landing today. I was in an airplane. This is much easier for me. And I took this picture of Tampa Bay, and I call this before the Now, if climate change continues at this rate, or everybody imagines it accelerating a little bit, this is sort of my extrapolation. Now, ironically, on the cover of today's paper, is the water supply shortage. And this is another thing that's hard for people to get around, get their mind around. Salt water is one thing. Water that humans can drink and water their crops with is a whole other thing. And salt and sodium, these are chemically aggressive things. Anybody seen a city where cars drive around in roads that get salted every winter? Salt is serious business, very strong ionic bond that corrodes everything. And ironically, there's a water shortage here in the state that's just that far above sea level. Now, everybody likes to talk about the Arctic, but the Antarctic is significant also. If the ice sheet, if this big chunk of the Antarctic breaks loose, we'll get a 5-meter rise in sea level. And I've depicted it a little bit here. This would mean that all this part of Florida will be underwater. And everything that's sort of not underwater is going to be mushy. These data are, as good as you can get from the satellite in Oregon. I mean, this is 5 meters is not an exact thing. And then again, in today's paper, I was thoroughly charmed to see is more growth a solution? To what? If more and more people become Floridians and climate change changes, all these millions of people are going to go somewhere. And they're going to want a job and something to eat. And this is going to have a huge effect on my life, but it's going to have a ginormously huge effect on your lives. And this, to many people, seems incredible. It's going to take so long for climate change to happen, so slow, so incremental, that it just doesn't seem real. And I meet many people, especially in the Midwest, where I grew up in these big open spaces, and it just seems beyond believing that this is happening. Yet, I can assure you it is. And the reason it's possible, this is the way I like to think of it, is if you look at the Earth from space, the atmosphere, the part where all the weather happens, and the part where we live, is thin. It's just crazy thin when viewed from space. If you had a globe and a layer of varnish, that's about about the thickness of a layer of varnish compared with the regular 12-inch standard globe. And that is why this species, the humans, have been able to change the climate of the world. It's because there isn't that much air. Now, I went to India about a year and a half ago, and these people are not getting around like this in order to preserve the old ways so that young people will know how we used to live, like Williamsburg, Virginia or something. This is how they get around. This woman carries her stuff to and from the market on her head because that's the technology she has available. This guy uses this old truck bed and a camel because that's what he can get. That's what he can afford. But I can assure you that if these people had access to transportation, they would use it. This is a family of four going to the elephant festival. It's a sunny day. And they're not riding the motor scooter for fun. They're riding it because that's the family's transportation. That's their vehicle. But if they could get a bigger vehicle, my friends, they would. Or how about this? They will. And if everyone starts driving around the way we do in the United States and Europe, we would need another 2 Earths to support everybody. I don't know how much time you spent with the first pictures there of Mars and Mercury. We do not have another 2 Earths. They're not available. So we have to make some changes. This is the Chinese tricycle truck. These things are everywhere in the countryside of China. And sure enough, every once in a while you see one tipped over. These guys, they all jump out and push it back. And this next picture, absolutely not retouched in any way. When you get behind one of these things, it's just soot coming out. But here's the irony. These vehicles meet many state emission standards because the engines are so small compared to the engines we have in the United States. This is the Chevy Suburban. And it's more difficult for it to meet emission standards. These are the ever-cheerful Detroit guys. They testified today, and I don't know, I remain skeptical. It's a blueprint for creating a new General Motors, one that is lean, profitable, self-sustaining, fully committed to product excellence. Sorry, I laugh out loud. Especially alternative propulsion. Okay. So here are the other guys, Paul and Nardelli. And I'll just tell you, for my part, I drive a Toyota Prius. Better than anybody. It just makes it so I buy gas a fourth as many times.